Hello everyone. In today's video, I thought I'd do something a little different. It's kind of a little treat for the 15,000 subscriber achievement that I got just the other day. And I wanted to put together a video which basically shows the basically top 5, or not really top 5, or 5 places I really like to fly. So we're going to kind of go through each one of these individually. I'll kind of show off a little bit of the terrain, a little bit of the places, and I'll kind of leave you a list of all the neat little airports that you can check out that are in those regions. So the first place on my list, of course, is none other but Connecticut. The reason I select this one, of course, I've spent most of my life living in this state. So when it comes to, kind of flying around, cruising around, it kind of helps when you have sort of the home team advantage, so to speak. We're sitting here. This is a Hartford airport. This is a Hartford Brainerd airport. This is basically right along the river, right near the capital. We'll buzz the capital real quick before we go visit kind of the rest of everything like this. Reasons I like to fly around Connecticut is it's kind of self-contained. Like, the state is big enough that you can use an airliner in it. I wouldn't necessarily recommend using an airliner in it, but you can. And it's also small enough that, if you want to kind of come find places or even hide, you still have the ability to do some of that itself. So what I'll do real quickly is I'll kind of take a quick little buzz of the capital itself. We're sitting here in a Cirrus SR-22. Of course, this would be pretty much the airplane you would find flying out of Brainerd. Again, Connecticut is the insurance capital of the world, last I checked, and that could have changed over the last few years because, again, times change. And as a result, you have a lot of really nice business jets flying in and out. So this is their rendition of the capital. There's really not a lot going on here as far as that kind of goes. So it's kind of disappointing, but from having actually flown here in the real world, real planes, they do an actually decent job here. I think the foliage is definitely way more dense than they portray it here, but at the same token as this isn't too bad. You can see one of the major highways right there on your right. It's Route 84 basically coming through everything. Of course, Route 91 is right there straight ahead. I'll do a quick little zip around the capital, and then we'll kind of go meet you over in this. So other things I really like about flying in this region is the fact that because the state has got a good variety of both, you have this nice urban environment, you also have a significant amount of rural territory in the state. If you head towards the west or the eastern side, you'd be really impressed with just how there's a science center. That is not what that looks like. You have a very good variety of terrain that you can operate in. It's absolutely great as far as flight training and stuff like that goes as well. And you can see the traffic is pretty much what it is. I love the fact you can go underneath the city right there. This is kind of a nice little touch. So what we're going to do here is we're basically going to kind of do a little bit of time-lapse action. We're going to fly all the way down to the coast, and I'll land right there, and I'll kind of show off some of the cool beaches that, we kind of typically see as well.
Red 64, did you hear my last transmission?
Engaging autopilot.
Red 64, you are leaving my airspace. Frequency change approved.
Brainerd Tower Red, 64 frequency change.
Oh boy, that was a heck of a flight there. Not bad at all. I love time-lapse travel. All right, so we're going to go ahead and land here. This is all the way down the coast. Again, this is another reason why I love this place, is you have one of everything except really, really tall mountains here. This is a Groton, New London. We've just arrived at. Straight ahead, by the way, that's Elizabeth Field. I'll put a plane at it for a second. There is the world's teeny tiniest, I swear, runway there. I have landed an airplane there. And I got to tell you from experience, it's pretty wild because if you got your windows open, you can literally smell the ocean. That, by the way, is Long Island Sound straight ahead. We're going to go ahead and do an overhead approach here because we don't have a lot of room to go and stick this thing down on the ground safely, which, oh well. Again, we're looking at the location here more so than we're looking at my awful flying, but that's perfectly fine too. It's an overhead approach. It's actually really fun. What you do is you basically do an entire traffic pattern in a giant circle while you start to go ahead and do things like drop your flaps and everything like that. You can actually do this very, very aggressively if you know what you're doing, but we're a little too close to the airport to do this one safely, so I'm actually going to go ahead and pull back into a steep turn, suck the energy out of the plane so that I can go ahead and get the flap deployed. You can see it does not like that at all. Nothing unusual. So now what you would do normally is, as you're doing your overhead approach, you go ahead and bop your flaps and get them all the way down. And if you've done everything perfectly, basically you come out perfectly lined up at the correct altitude, at the correct state, at the correct energy level, at the correct speed, when you finally do pop out for your final landing approach here. Obviously, I haven't done one of these in ages, otherwise I get a little bit more precise, but you got the idea. So again, Connecticut definitely has a place in my heart. That's why I put it on the list, kind of to kick everything off here. Where we're going next is going to be a little bit different, but it's definitely a place I love to fly just because, again, it's incredibly scenic, and it's also very, very challenging to operate in as well. I myself on a runway 15 here. It's not going to be the most glorious landing I've ever done, but hey, it's going to get me down on the ground. I'm not complaining. We're here. All right, let's take a look at my next option. For my next airport on my list here, I come all the way out here to beautiful Colorado. So now, one of the cool things with this particular location, this is a Eagle County regional, by the way. This is Kilo Echo Golf Echo. Colorado in general, Utah, Idaho, this whole region is wonderful for flying because you have so many gorgeous mountain vistas to actually check out along the flight. Now, the reason I particularly like this part, again, usually I concentrate on country or I concentrate on a specific state, is the fact that you have this amazing canyon run at your disposal, which is just a lot of fun to fly through. I remember going on SkyVector and basically trying to go through all these different locations, desperately trying to find something kind of interesting to fly out of. And this is one that would always come to mind. The reason being is that you can stay really low. There's a river that goes through this. There's a little road that you can fly 10 feet over. A lot of times I'll do this in a stunt plane as opposed to doing this in this little tail dragger here. Other times, of course, you can get a fighter jet in here if you have a little bit more room. Normally, of course, you can just take off and go in this direction. The territory, by the way, of Colorado, you've got Aspen, which has an incredibly dangerous approach into it, especially if you're doing instrument flying. It also has an incredibly dangerous departure procedure as well. Basically what we do with that is, you can set yourself up like, you can fly out of Denver, which is a very, very tall airport, and you can zip through this absolutely gorgeous area. One of my other favorite airports on Earth, which is called Moose County Regional, or Moose County Airport, I think it's called. One Uniform 1, for those of you who want to confirm me on that one, is amazing because basically it's used for firefighters only. You're not really supposed to land all airplanes on it, but I always try to do it anyway. So what I'm going to do real quickly is I'm going to kind of do my little fighter jet thing here. Yeah, just sped up time. So the way this one works, which is I love, you have this like super highway kind of below you. Again, nothing too serious that kind of goes along this. And next thing you know, you get into the actual part where the canyon is.
500.
And then your flying gets a lot more interesting. Let's go ahead and see what that looks like.
Land 64 knowledge, lost transmission. Land 64 knowledge, lost transmission. Land 64, please acknowledge.
Then after all that absurdity of zipping through the very, very complicated canyon, you suddenly come out to this, beautiful little, nice, quiet region where everything seems to be, nice and stable. Again, not too much insanity after everything we just did. You can kind of say hello to everybody. And I got to say, looking down at some of these houses, just going, what do you folks do for a living exactly? I feel like we're an awfully long way away from everything kind of out in this area. But again, flying in this region, everything looks like this. So I'm just kind of like tooling around here. You can just see this is like 90% of the terrain. Go ahead and speed up time just a teeny tiny bit here. Now, the cool thing is after doing that ridiculously dangerous canyon run, you have yourself like this regular old airport, just sort of chilling out here in the woods. Let's go ahead and reduce speed. Go ahead and skid the plane a little bit to lose some power. So you can imagine just all the amazing little adventures you can have just kind of hanging out here and kind of doing these sort of things all the time. And one of the things I really enjoy is the fact that we're at 6,000 feet right now. So the aircrafts don't tend to run so well at these altitudes. But believe it or not, you can still get a pretty good flight out of it. You just have to remember that my actual airspeed is about 20% faster than my indicated airspeed, which is actually pretty scary if you think about it. Now, let's go put this thing on the ground, and then we'll go ahead and take a look at my next destination, which is going to be in a slightly different hemisphere than this one. Nose up, and I'm going to gentle. Whoop. That could have been a little bit smoother, but I'm not complaining too much. Whoop, we're going back up. I should come at about half the speed. Well, hold those brakes, and we are here. All right, let's take a look at our next destination. Not only did we make it to a different hemisphere, but we made it to the other hemisphere too. Welcome to Papua New Guinea. This is definitely a place where some of the coolest airports that you can fly into are, and the terrain is definitely on the rugged side. This kind of reminds me of Vietnam, but everything got like another 1,000 feet taller. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a super duper short flight, kind of pop over. I'll try to give you as much of kind of the local kind of color as we do. This is a VL3, by the way, which is perfect for this kind of flying because you basically don't need any runway to get this thing up in the air. Now, I've used live streams for this one before. I've done specific videos for this one before. And really, this whole region is absolutely incredible as far as little tiny grass strips, just like the one I'm taking off from right now. And again, everything, just so much variety and everything, as well as having this nice and dynamic terrain. The weather here, of course, can get a little insane. So you might want to be a little bit cautious with that if you are kind of a live weather folks. But just trying to navigate your way around all these teeny, tiny little grass airstrips that basically are located, I'm not going to say in the middle of nowhere because obviously people live here, but talk about dynamic terrain here. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to get myself over this little mountain range. We'll go ahead and level off, and we'll go for a little bit of a flight here and kind of zigzag all the way down these canyons until we can find an equally absurdly short runway. There's actually a couple folks who I think it was like Missionary Bush Pilot or something like that, who does all of the flying out in this region, and with really good reason. This is an amazing place, and hopefully at some point, once we do get some helicopters brought into Flight Simulator, we'll get the ability to go ahead and kind of experience some more of this, a little bit more direct. Let's go ahead and fast forward to the fun part. right, we're just about down to where we need to land. And again, as you can see from this entire ride out so far, just tremendous amount of lush terrain. There's more than one place you can fly here. There are international airports you can go in and out of, but the real fun to me is basically exploring all these mountains that basically are completely untouched. Papua New Guinea, of course, is a very interesting country because it's incredibly linguistically diverse compared to other countries. Again, it's all relative, but very, very interesting to see how this works. So for our landing for this particular location, about 3 nautical miles out, that's not much. And waiting to see just how impossibly small this actual runway is. Now, for bush pilots, this is definitely going to be a full-time job because there are so many little tiny airports like this scattered throughout this entire country that people basically fly in and out of all the time in order to deliver supplies. And, somebody needs medevac or something like that, we can go ahead and provide them with that service, basically exclusively by air. In case you haven't noticed, there's no roads. If you want to get out this far, you gotta fly. Either that or you better have a donkey. Notice myself down here as we come ripping over this little bay here. One of the nice things, of course, is there are lots and lots of waterways that kind of spread themselves out, which makes it a little bit easier and a little bit safer as far as not getting horribly lost here. But as you can see, it's going to be interesting trying to put this thing down on the ground on a probably very short runway. But again, that's what I love about this region. Basically, they clear a little bit of jungle and say, hey, 2,000 feet, that's more than enough. Let's go ahead and line ourselves up. We'll pass over once. We'll take a look at the little village as we kind of come in. Waiting to see how not big this is going to be. 1, 2. All right, do you see it? There's not much to it. Let's go pass it over real fast. Put my nose up just a little bit here. And yeah, that's what we have to work with. As you can see, like I said, they basically carved a little patch out of the jungle here. We'll pop over this little region here. I'll give you a good little look. That's it. You're looking at it right on the right. See it? Yeah, that's all we have to work with, which for us is actually plenty. All right, we're going to go ahead and do our little modified traffic pattern here. We're going to put the landing gear in the down position. I've never seen a landing gear swish. Like a landing gear is like a big handle that you pull on. It's not something that you go tug and then you're in the landing gear position. So we're going to go ahead and aim at this really, really scary mountain. Again, you have to make sure your mountain flying skills are dynamite in order to operate in regions like this. I'm going to go ahead and put my flaps all the way down. Kind of look behind us. Again, this is a very, very, very ugly traffic pattern, but I'm not going for perfection here. I'm just trying to put the plane on the ground. I'm going to go ahead and pull the throttle all the way back. Give myself plenty of rudder here. Again, we're going to go ahead and dip that wing. And we're going to basically carve our way through the woods and go ahead and put this thing down. But can you imagine a country that has like probably 30 or even 40 of these style runways just kind of sprinkled here in the mountains, just ready for folks like us to just kind of check it out? I just think that's absolutely incredible. I'm going to go ahead and buzz this guy's cabin. I'm sure he's not going to appreciate it nearly as much fun as I'm going to have with it. I'm going to go basically go between trees with an airplane, which that's kind of naughty in my book. But again, we got to get this thing down on the ground as fast as we can. All right. That's a little bit rougher than I like, but hey, we're here. Ooh. All right, so this is Papua New Guinea, and again, this is another wonderful place, beautiful, beautiful country, something I'd love to visit because I just think this is so incredibly scenic. Our next location's going to be a little bit different. All right, so whereas everything else that we've seen so far on this list has been in a nice, cozy, temperate part of the world, we've now entered into the taiga. So, of course, I'm looking around going, I expected a little bit more snow this time of year, but it's the way they modeled it. We are currently at Uniform November Oscar Tango, also known as Terra, which is literally basically as far north on the map as you're going to get in the former Soviet Union / Russia here. You see there's a small little village here. It's kind of a bummer. In X-Plane, there's actually a really neat little setup where you can see like the little Ural truck and everything like that. Basically, we're way, 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 way north Russia. So I'm going to go ahead and give myself a pretty standard takeoff here, and I'll kind of walk you through why I selected northern Russia as one of my favorite places to fly. So let's go ahead and get this thing going up. I'm already over revving the engine. Too much. In the real world, turboprops actually spool up a lot faster than that. I'm a little disappointed with that sometimes. So, unfortunately, we don't have a good Russian plane which we can operate out of this airport for, because this really should be like an AN-24 or something like that, or even an AN-2, given how far up we are. Let's go ahead and give myself a little tiny bit of altitude. I just want to concentrate for a moment here. That was lame. Apparently I didn't give it as much trim as I thought I'd. Alright, let's go ahead and get this thing on navigation mode. Flight director's turned on. Now what to do with the flight director. A recent add-on, I swear, has dented that for some reason. Okay, so now you're probably going, why on earth did you pick northern Russia as one of your favorite places to fly? The simple reason for it is because not only are you in the middle of nowhere, but your latitude is so high that it forces you to invent a new kind of navigation in order to safely get around. I don't know if anybody's familiar with the expression grid navigation, but basically because we're so high in the latitudes, all of our compasses are basically become not useless. They become very difficult to operate with because they're always going to basically be constantly shifting even if we're going in a straight line. So because again we're so high in the latitudes, we basically have to reinvent the way that we safely navigate. Now I have a modern aircraft here which has the ability to basically quickly adjust this automatically for me. Now in the event that I did not have a modern aircraft and I was having to do this kind of by hand, the old-fashioned way so to speak, I would actually have to take into account the fact that my compass is basically going to put me on an arc if I tried to keep one direction. The expression for that you probably heard is called fork angle, which is something that like when's the last time we've ever had to navigate in that sort of a fashion. There's actually a lot of places in northern Russia that you can operate out of, but this is again one of my favorites to visit because it's so far away from everything, but there actually is a pretty good amount of population here. Let's go ahead and take a look at what the terrain looks like now that the navigation issues have been addressed. right, that was a lot. This is gonna sound funny, but man, like termites, wood ticks, oh my. That's all I have to say. So again, this region is amazing from a navigational perspective. It's trying to not get horribly lost. It's also like just different, like so much of what I do usually, you've got mountains and stuff like that, but it's relatively flat. You've got this old style architecture with these old style locations and everything along those lines. Obviously a lot of military significance out here. I imagine it is quite a process if you want to try to get an Amazon package all the way out here, because again, just look at the distances involved and everything we've seen so far. Normally, of course, when I see this, I always think of it being perfectly covered in white without not a lot of tree leaves anywhere. But again, you can see just how much of this particular region is just massive, and it's just so easy to get lost. It's not like you have a VOR station anywhere out here. The best we can do most of the time is going to be ADF if you were lucky. Some of the times you don't even get that either, which is again absolutely crazy. All right, let's go ahead and put this thing down on the ground and we'll go take a look at my final location. Go ahead and kill my automatic pilot. Boy, we went through quite a bit of fuel there. Imagine how terribly lost you can get in a region like this. Again, I just find this part of the world, it's got its own style beauty to it, as well as, like I said, its challenges. Try doing this without a GPS or a nice glass cockpit and all that other stuff, and things get a little bit tricky a lot faster. Hold that nose up. Whoop. Out my window real quick, and looking pretty good. Kind of swinging it around. Again, we're not going for perfection or style or anything like that. I just want you to kind of see what all these places look like. Looks like somebody's been testing a Zerboma over to the south there. All right, this is a Uniform November Oscar Whiskey, by the way, for those of you who are curious what we're coming into today. Go ahead and pop the flaps into down position. All right, got this thing kind of snapping around real quick. And again, just look at all the trees. It's crazy. All right, we'll come swinging around here. Looks like a pretty good runway to go ahead and stick ourselves down on here. Go give that a good control. I love the 208 because it's not a lot of airplane. Again, this thing gets you going pretty quick, but it's nothing excessive. All right, looking pretty good there. Come swing us on this way. Line us up for our final approach. A little bit of left foot as you turn. All right, whoop, a little bit too wide there. Just taking a look at that runway for a second. My brain tells me that it was probably used as a military runway at some point. Although I don't really see a lot of the tarmac or anything like that. And again, where are my snowbanks? I'm disappointed. All right, we'll go ahead and put this thing gently down on the ground, and then we'll take a look at my final place where I really, really do like to spend a good amount of my flying time. All right, it's looking pretty solid so far. Pretty close to the ground. Man, that runway is bigger than it looks like. Nose up. Got a bit of a crosswind here. And we came in with much too much speed again, but that's all right. Hey, we're down on the ground at least. All right, cool. Okay, so our next location is definitely going to be in the opposite corner of things. Let's take a look. All right, now we're ready for my final little piece here. And as you can probably tell by those gigantic mountains, not too far off from the east, we are sitting here in Peru. This is basically all of South America. Is an amazing, amazing continent. It's very, very similar to Africa in the sense that it's very, very untouched. You have an amazing variety of terrain here. You've got lush jungles over in Brazil. You've got kind of almost like steppe basically. When you head down there to Argentina and Chile, you've got beautiful, beautiful mountains. Tremendously high altitude. Colombia and Venezuela are both absolutely gorgeous, gorgeous places to visit. But for this particular example, I want to kind of hang out on the coast, go inland a little bit, just kind of see some of the stuff that are involved with that. Just because, again, I just think it's all pretty incredible. For in the Diamond 62, this is going to be kind of our finishing aircraft here, after doing this adventure. Originally, when I put together this list, I actually opted to do 10 different locations. But when I realized that my total shooting and editing time, unfortunately, wasn't going to allow me to do all 10 of them, which actually kind of bums me out because there's a lot of places I really do like to fly as well. I like to fly over in southern Russia as well, places like Georgia, just because of DCS. Flying around Iran is a really, really nice place to fly as well. I don't mind flying around places like New Zealand as well as Australia. Places especially in southern Europe, like if you want to do like Greece and Italy, those are all really, really solid places. If you're looking for something a little different, I like to fly in places like Sweden and Finland as well, because again, just very, very different style terrain that you have there, and the navigation there can be very, very tricky. tricky. Of course, sitting here in basically the west coast of South America, one of the things that makes it so challenging is you have this massive mountain range, the Andes Mountains, which makes it very, very difficult to navigate. When you cross out of there, you lose line of sight. So with VOR stations, the weather can be a little extreme crossing some of these mountains. So it's one of the things that you do is always trying to get more and more and more and more and more altitude, which of course creates its own set of challenges because now you have to worry about oxygen requirements, you have to worry about decreased performance, you have to worry about all those different aspects in order to safely navigate these regions. I'm going to go ahead and turn on navigation mode so it brings us over to the right. Basically what we're going to do is we're going to scoot over these incredibly steep mountains, and we're going to land at a neat mountain airport. One of the neat things about the neat mountain airports here is that they are so much higher altitudes than those you'll see, especially like in the United States, even out in the Rocky Mountains. You can have like a 7,500 foot elevation for the field in some of these airports that are located in parts of South America here. So what I'm going to do is, as usual, kind of speed things up, go ahead and zip ourselves all the way across this mountain range, go ahead and put it nice and gently down on the ground at the destination.
Red 6-4, did you hear my last transmission? Red 6-4, you are leaving my airspace frequency change approved.
Trujillo Tower Red, 6-4 frequency change.
just about ready to put this thing down on the ground. Just going to confirm that everything looks okay. I'm just going to head right over the edge. Again, I'm at 15,000 feet right now, and you can see the mountains are basically reaching up to come say hello to me as I'm barely scooting by where people actually live. So again, this is tremendous region to fly in. I know a lot of people are huge fans of like the Himalayas and stuff like that. There's a lot of really gorgeous stuff to see in those regions as well. Again, you have to deal with these tremendously high altitudes. And for a particular landing area, I'll wait and you see where this is located, because it kind of blows my mind just a tiny bit that people will actually care. Although now look at my window, I've actually never seen that one before. I don't think that's an actual runway, but again, could you imagine trying to drive a car in these roads in the middle of these places? It's an incredible concept in my mind. Right, let's go ahead and get this thing ready to put down. Go ahead and zoom out just a tiny bit. Spiegel, Sierra Papa Golf Lima. You can't miss it. It's right next to that big town that we're going to be seeing in just a second here. Again, look at the altitudes that we're dealing with here. This is just incredible. All right, that's us. Well, if we have to go around, we're going to die. So this will be a pretty appropriate ending for things, right? Let's go ahead and reduce the power. Go ahead and shut off the automatic pilot. And we're going to begin an incredibly dangerous descent. Remember, we're at 15,000 feet right now. And again, just look around. Like people, that's somebody's the farm that you're looking at right there. And it's just an amazing concept to me that, people could basically live in the most adverse of locations. Of course, for us as pilots, this is a tremendous challenge to do very safely, because if we don't, obviously, there's plenty of mountains here that would gently and have claimed many pilots in the past. Let's go ahead and loop ourselves around nice and gently here. We picked up quite a bit of airspeed during our descent. We should have started descending earlier. But again, look around. You can probably guess why I chose not to descend earlier. Now imagine if you're doing like a military campaign in this region. You would never be able to find everybody. It's just way too rugged. All right, go ahead and spin ourselves all the way around here. Need to continue churning, and oh my gosh, that's disorienting. Try doing this one in VR, by the way. And there's our destination. When I said it's a tiny runway, I really was not kidding. But on the flip side, this is not the most difficult thing we've ever tried to safely land a plane on before. Go ahead and lose a little bit more altitude. We can't get going too fast, obviously, otherwise we're going to over-G the plane. Just kind of getting a good look for everything. Again, this is a crazy place as far as, I'm going to put an airport here. This seems safe. Look at my altitude right now. I'm 7,600 feet. And there's stuff all around us. So imagine if the conditions weren't good. It's not as though there's an ILS approach into this place either. So kind of keep that in the back of your head as well. Go ahead and stick my head forward a little bit so I can get a better look at the runway. Zoom in just a tiny bit. Oh yeah, that's a little extreme, not gonna lie. Go ahead and pull myself away here. This is not the best aircraft for this. We need something that's probably a turboprop with a reverse on it to be able to do that one safely. But hey, if you're going to end a really neat video about dramatic landings and dramatic approaches and dramatic places to be, you can't do worse than that. So we're going to go ahead and do a skateboarding maneuver here. We're going to go up the side, lose a lot of energy. Go ahead, kill the energy. We're going to go ahead and actually do something tremendously dangerous with an airplane this expensive. Now that our energy is gone, we're going to put the gear all the way down, put the flaps all the way down, pull that nose up, and we're basically going to do a suicide run here. I'm going to skid the plane as aggressively as I can. I can't overspeed those flaps. Flying the plane sideways right now. We're basically going to glider pilot this thing all the way down. Could you imagine having taken off from that location instead of being landing on it? Think about how little room you would have had to climb here. All right, gonna go snap myself around. Again, I gotta keep myself under 110. My flaps are all the way down, my gear's all the way down. Oh boy. Oh, this is some aggressive flying. Oh boy. Okay, I think we actually may have survived it. Let's make sure everything looks okay. Confirm my landing gear are indeed in the down position. Looks good to me. And this is going to be a great way to end this little video today. You can see where it's amazing when you look out the window at these things. All right, go ahead and lift that nose up just a tiny bit. Now, I have to remember this one for a live stream because I'm sure this will challenge the best of the best pilots out there. All right, we did it. Of course, we landed short of the threshold there, but that's all right. All right, folks, again, thank you so much for all your support over this time that we've been doing things. Hopefully you found this video interesting. Again, this is just about really, really cool places that I really, really love to fly in. Everybody's going to have a different perspective on a lot of these things, but again, these are just some quick things that just kind of came to mind that I figured you'd enjoy. Enjoy.